I'm really excited to be here today, and I have to say that I've been in this business for 20 years, and I think that this experience that I've recently gone through, next to starting my business, has to be the most important step that I took in terms of understanding and better providing services to elders and families. Was this September when I drove my 3- and 5-year-old to their first day of school. And as we were sitting in the car, the conversation began, "Dad, you know, what was it like at your first day of school?" And they were, I know they're 3 and 5, so they were actually riveted to hear what I had to say. That's going to go away. It'll be in the rearview mirror, literally. But the point being is, I really had gone through a bunch of first days of school, and they could trust me, my guidance and my thoughts and my experiences, and they were interested in it. So I drop them off, and then I'm driving to my job where I advise thousands of elders and their families, and I go to, you know, hundreds of these communities, and I was just struck like a V8 moment. It's like, oh, how could I have missed this? And I basically started thinking, how could I move into a community and immerse myself in what it's like to actually be a resident? So a few days later, and like everything, I sort of forgot about it probably by halfway through the day, but a few days later I was over at Paul Spring having a meeting, and we were talking about some stuff, and all of a sudden I remembered, you know, this idea. I said, guys, I don't know if I could even do this. Is it legally, am I legally allowed? But could I move in and sort of try to emulate what it's like to be a resident here? And they said to me, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, you can do that. Well, a few months went by, and I remembered that I wanted to do this, and so I called up Paul Spring, and much to my surprise, Barbara Sullivan, who's here today from Paul Spring, said, yeah, we've been waiting for you to call. We were wondering if you were going to follow up on that. Just think of this project. All it is a platform for discussion and a new way of thinking. I don't want to be lecturing to you guys today about the right and the wrong way to provide care to elders. This is just a bizarre idea that will be great for us to talk about things. This is a picture of me when I started aging, okay? And this is a very important point that we're going to get back to at the conclusion of this, but in our society, aging is not defined at birth, it's defined with an AARP card, okay? And that's one of the things about what I'm doing, that I'm sort of challenging our system. What I did was try to synthesize my experience as well as I could, and I sort of broke it down into what I call the 7 P's of senior living. But really, what did we just talk about? It's really the 7 P's of living. You know, if you take that senior component out of it, and I will steal another punchline, I probably learned more about how I should live my life now by moving in to this community than I have through any other sort of educational process. So what I'm going to do today, as quickly as possible, is run through these 7 P's, and then hopefully we'll have plenty of time to sort of challenge my notion that this is a platform for discussion and ideas. I estimate I've been to over 500 communities. I talk to people on a daily basis, and sometimes they're in tears because they're like, wow, you've really helped me through this process. And, you know, what happens after 20 years is you start thinking that, you know, I really know this business. I know this better than anybody. And this was a great blow to my ego, thank God. You know, is that because once I wrote my name on that application, Steve Gurney, I wasn't standing next to somebody that I loved. I wasn't helping I wasn't helping a family. It was me. And I was writing my name and address and all this, and going through the health screening and the mini mental, which if you haven't been to the website, that's a good one to go to. But what I was struck immediately with how easy it was for me to detach myself from this process and still really, really care about somebody else. down the hallway, and I swear when the key went into the door, it was sort of like, the timpani, and it opens up, and for the first time in my life, I viewed an apartment with my own furnishings in it. And that was part of the detachment. It's very easy to go into an apartment and you're there with your mom or dad or your client, and your furniture is going to look really good in here, And when I started doing that with my own furniture, my own possessions, imagining my own self getting up in the morning and taking a shower and how nervous I was going to be walking out that door my first day, it had new meaning to what the families that we work with go through. My one-bedroom floor plan, and I went back to my 4-bedroom house with a 2-car garage. And I really wanted to immerse myself in this experience. Now, I knew I wasn't going to be living there long enough or whether my wife would let me move all the furniture for a week to do this, but I wanted to experience it as well as I could. So what I did was I walked around my house and I made a list of every single thing that was in my house. There's a lot of stuff, okay? And quite honestly, I just skipped the garage because I figured nothing in there matters, okay? But, I mean, thousands of items, I will just say. At the end of the day, I was able to take about 12 or 13 items of furniture with me in this fictional move. But what was more revealing was, how was I going to get rid of all the other stuff? And not necessarily get rid of, but what was I going to do with it? And again, using technology, I was able to glean the expertise of the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and they gave me a bunch of guidance and feedback. What this really illustrated to me is probably one of the most important elements of this exercise is how we get emotionally attached to impractical items in our lives. And I've made a joke, go in any retirement community and you will see 14-foot armoires crammed into 8-foot spaces, okay? But the crock pot, this was very powerful. Like this winter, we only used the crock pot once. But I will tell you, at the point that I was on the video and I looked at my crock pot, that crock pot makes my house feel like a home. Because I don't know about you guys, when you've been using that thing, your house smells great, And all you got to do is look at it, and it brings you back to those memories. So this gave me a much deeper appreciation. If I was doing this with my mom or dad, it would be like, we're getting rid of this crock pot, okay? And it's not even worth giving it to Goodwill because no one's going to want to eat out of somebody else's crock pot. I'm going to throw it into the hefty bag, And the person that you're helping, they don't understand why they're having these feelings, because it took me a while to figure it out. But that was an extremely valuable lesson that I hope that can be helpful. Reiterated to me on the possessions and on the downsizing, the importance of storytelling on your possessions and the elements that you have. So do what I did, videotape your house, but don't videotape the possessions. Talk about the memories of sitting around the kitchen table and what you did there. A lot of folks are into scrapbooking now, but what do? We scrapbook our kids and soccer games and stuff like that. Create a scrapbook on the possessions that you've had, because when you do that, it makes it a lot easier to give these elements up. So someday when I downsize, which I hope is sooner than later, I'm going to have this beautiful artistic print on my wall. It's going to look like Andy Warhol, but it's going to be a crock pot, okay?